Hey, it's Ruby. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I thought we'd do something chill because it's been a dark, gloomy day all day. We haven't had much sun. There's like the semblance of a sun sometimes, but it's very, very cloudy, which I love. I can't wait to finish filming and go curl up with my book and with Butters. So yeah, I thought we just chat. Let's talk about the Goodreads Choice Awards 2024. A lot of people get pissed when these lists come out because they're not diverse enough. They don't, it's like the same old all the time. But to me, I feel like I'm pretty new to Goodreads in general. I just started using it consistently this year, and so I want to see what people have voted for the opening round. Like what made it on there? What did people shelve the most? And so let's just chat. If you don't follow me regularly, then you probably don't know, but I am primarily a fantasy reader. I read fantasy, romantasy, and romance. Those are like my three top genres. Under that, I read sci-fi, thrillers, and that's it. And that's really it. And then under that, because of Bookshelf Ultimatum, a series on my channel where I literally choose books at random, I have read some mysteries, some horrors, some historical fiction. I don't think I've read much literary fiction, but I have read some in my day. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe. I'm not going to be going through the nonfiction and memoir side of things because I don't read nonfiction. I read fiction only. I like fantasy because I like escapism. I want to be transported into magical worlds with creatures that don't exist. I don't want to read about the real world. I have enough of it. So we're going to be skipping the nonfiction stuff because I would have zero opinion. So let's go category by category. I will tell you if I voted in them, if I didn't, if I even read any of these books. It'll just be chill. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's get to it. So I have my iPad. I'm following along on my iPad because it is at 100% fully charged. So if you see me looking down, I'm going to be looking at this. But first up, we have readers' favorite fiction, which again, literary fiction, contemporary fiction, I don't really read much of, but let's go through the list. So first up top, Ellen Hildebrand has a new book. She's a fairly popular author, so I feel like she will make it to the final round of votes. I don't know how many people make it to the final round of votes. Because like I said, this is my first full dedicated year of reading. I never paid attention at the end of last year who made it. I didn't care, to be honest. The Wedding People, I feel like this is a new book that has had a lot of talk, a lot of hype. People really, really have liked this one. I think it was a book of the month book, maybe, but I have heard of several people, and I don't really that's not my FYP because I don't read these types of books. So it's rare that I see them, but I have seen some people talk about this and I have heard nothing but positive things. So I think that one is a really strong contender in here. The second row, I've heard of none of them. The third row, Sally Rooney. Sally Rooney has a new book, and she is a really popular author. And some people, it's like, I feel like Sally Rooney is either like you hate her books or you love her books. No in between. But she is popular. Like, even I know who she is, and I don't read literary fiction. So that is definitely making it on to the final round. And Dolly Alderton books, there was a lot of hype for her book, Good Material, but I feel like the reviews were more mixed. However, I do see her moving on to the final round. And then Blue Sisters, that's a book that I have heard a couple people talk about, also like The Wedding People, that they really liked it. So I feel like that one will probably make it through also. And I haven't heard anything about the rest of these books, so that's all we can say for that. Next up is readers' favorite historical fiction. Again, another genre that I don't really read, but I have read some. I read The Nightingale. What else did I read? That's like all I'm going to think about because that's when I finally gave up on historical fiction. I was really trying. I was like, I need to be open to new genres because I tried to be, and I gave that one a fair chance. And I felt like if Kristen Hanna didn't work for me, then historical fiction was not going to be for me, because I feel like Kristen Hanna is the Sarah J. Maas of historical fiction. Whether you love or hate SJM, you cannot deny that the woman is very successful and beloved. Her books are beloved. Her books are beloved. And I feel like that is definitely Kristen Hanna with historical fiction. She's like the queen of it. So, yep, there's a Kristen Hanna in there. She's probably going to win. The Women. And honestly, so many people have loved The Women. Actually, my husband's cousin, Christy, I met her recently. She lives in Indiana, and now that I'm in Maryland, I was able to meet her, and she actually read this book and she really liked it. I believe her, I trust her, and I feel like it's gonna win. But I actually voted in this category despite not having read any of these books. I didn't do that for any other category, but The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno Garcia. You all know. Well, you might not know if you don't follow me regularly, but I have a thing for Silvia. So I am on a mission to read all of her books. I will be reading this book as soon as I have it on Libby. But yeah, I needed to vote for it. And I saw Reagan, Peruse Project, read this and love it, but she's also a lover of Silvia Moreno Garcia, so I feel like we're a little biased in that sense, but I hope that she makes it to the final round. I don't think that she'll win, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure Kristen's got this one in the bag. And I don't recognize any of these other books. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Kristen. Next up, we have readers' favorite mystery and thriller. Again, I like to dabble in thrillers once in a while, but I've never read one that's like blown my mind or that I'm like 5 stars or even close, to be honest. So, I mean, from the top, all of these I've heard of. They're contenders: Darling Girls, The Heiress, Middle of the Night, Riley Sager. Again, very, very popular thriller author. So I did hear mixed things though of Middle of the Night. The Last One at the Wedding, Jason has a new book. I've only read one of his books. What's it called? Hidden Pictures. And honestly, I was into it the first half. The second half lost me. The ending I thought was just the stupidest thing. The reveal, I was like, no. At first I was like, ooh, the kid is creepy, and I was liking it. But then when like we actually find out what's actually happening, I was like, no. So yeah, Frida McFadden's on there. People really love Frida McFadden. I've only read 2 of her books. I read The Inmates and I liked it. That one, I liked that one. I thought it was solid. It was fun while it lasted. Never thought about it again. That epilogue though, that was good. And then I read The Teacher, which I know is on this list, right? Yes. And I didn't like that. I was like, ew. No. I tried to read another one of her books, but I don't remember what it's called. It's the one where the girl finds the tapes of that psychologist that supposedly died, and she's like listening to them to figure out what happened. I DNF'd it. I got bored in the beginning and I DNF'd it, and then I just looked up what happened and I was like, dumb. So I'm not gonna read it. Listen for the Lie. That was pretty popular. I know I heard it pop up a couple times on my feed, so maybe that one is a contender. Geneva Rose's new book. I wanted that book just because I liked the cover, but I didn't get it because it's dumb. Like, I'm not one to not buy a book based on the cover only, but not a thriller because I know it's not my thing. So Richard Osman, I know that he's really popular internationally. I feel like I don't really hear Americans talk about him. I had never heard about him until I saw some like British content creators talk about him, but he's probably gonna make it on there. And then Lucy had a new book. I didn't hear great things about it. I think I heard like mixed things about it. So it's a toss-up, really. I don't know who would get that. Moving on to a genre that I do read. So I have more thoughts about this. Reader's favorite romance. So I feel like this is going to be a surprise. I did vote for this one. This is the first one that I actually did like vote for because I read one of the books. But Let's go through them. The top, Daydream, Hannah Grace, very popular author, very popular series. I read it and I really liked it. I thought it was really sweet and very different from the first two books. I did like that one. Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer, the third book in that series. I also read it. I also liked it, but I didn't love it. How to End a Love Story. I own that, but I haven't read it. I want to read it. I probably will read it before the year ends, to be honest. Casey McQuiston has a new book. I skipped Tia's book because I never heard anything about that book. Ali Hazelwood, Bride. That got mixed reviews. I really liked it. I think I gave it like 4.25 or 4.5 stars. I liked it. It gave me like, it reminded me of my Twilight days, my Vampire Academy days. What else did I like? House of Night. I loved those books when I was young. And it just, I hadn't read a vampire book in a really long time, so this was really fun for me. I really liked it. I don't think she'll win though. I really don't. Then we have Carly Fortune's new book. I've never read those books, never will read them. They just don't appeal to me. Same with This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. I've been wanting to read this book because her books are pretty popular and very loved, well received. But there's just something about it that puts me off. And honestly, I think a big part of it is the cover. I just don't like the covers of these books. I mean, the woman's always gorgeous, but she's like a real woman, and I don't like real people on my covers. I also don't just like the flowers plastered on there, the like font, it's just there. It's just there, and I don't really like it. And I know it's like a dumb reason to not read the book, but it does affect it when you have like 200 plus books waiting to be read on your shelves. So that's unfortunate, but that's a contender because a lot of people really, really love her books. Funny Story by Emily Henry. I think this one is probably gonna win because it's Emily Henry. Again, it's very like Kristen Hanna with historical fiction, SJM with fantasy, Emily Henry with contemporary romance. I just feel like A Funny Story is probably gonna win. Then we have Wild Love by Elsie Silver, another very popular author. I own this, but I haven't read it because I want to read the Chestnut Spring series first. Catherine Zenner had a new book, The Rom-Commers. I had an arc of this, so I read it before it released, and I liked it. I thought it was fun, but I definitely don't think it'll win. It was fun, it was good, worth the read, but it wasn't my favorite. Catherine Zenner. I've read 3 of them, and I feel like my favorite was Hello Stranger, but it's like very close with The Bodyguard. And then it would be this one after those 2. Kevin Kwan, never heard of that book. I've heard of Kevin Kwan, but not the book. Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. I feel like it's a contender, but it won't win. The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I read that book and I freaking loved it. It was so funny. The FMC was so funny. I really, really liked that. I want to reread that already because it was so fun. And for me, it was between this one and The Love of My Afterlife. I didn't know which one to vote for. Realistically, like, I don't think that either one of them are gonna win. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Funny Story, which I'll be happy for because I loved Funny Story. But I was like, I love The Paradise Problem and The Love of My Afterlife. So I ended up choosing The Love of My Afterlife because it's my most recent romance read, and it was like fresh in my mind. But if we're being honest, it's gonna be Funny Story probably. But those are both really, really good. If you haven't read them, you should. I feel like I should have given The Paradise Problem 5 stars, and I probably will reread it in 2025 and will give it 5 stars because it was good. Leather and Lark, no. I DNF Butcher and Blackbird. I was so bored. I felt like the romance was just very insta lust. I didn't like the characters, their sense of humor, their wittiness, the banter. I didn't like anything, so I DNF'd it. And I won't be reading Leather and Lark. I don't think it'll win either. Then the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, There's been a craze with her books recently, but again, I don't think it'll win. I do own the third one, The Christmas Tree Farm, because I have a weakness for Christmas books. Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This is a contender. I read this, but I didn't like it. I just didn't. I just felt like I didn't love the characters. I didn't really like the story. The issues that they dealt with, I didn't care about. So, not my favorite. Play Along by Liz Tom Ford. This was really popular. And this whole series in general, what's it called? The Windy City series, maybe? Very, very popular. So that's a contender. I want to read them. But I'm not in a rush to read them. I do want to read them though. And then Ana Huang, King of Sloth. I've never read an Ana Huang book. I tried to read, what is it? The first book in the Twisted series. Twisted Love, maybe? I don't know what it's called. But I DNF'd it really quickly because it wasn't for me. So I think Emily Henry's got this one in the bag. Reader's favorite romantasy. I love romantasy. So let's see what I've read from here. I haven't read House of Flame and Shadow. I haven't read any of the Crescent City books, but it is Sarah J Maas, so it's gonna make it through to the final round. However, people really weren't happy with that last book. That was very mixed reviews on that one, mixed opinions. So I don't know. Can someone else take down SJM? Maybe, because there's a lot of really popular contenders, book talk darlings that might win. So I'm excited for this one to see who's gonna win, because I feel like a lot of these are TikTok darlings. When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I wanted to love this book and I did not, unfortunately, love it. It was okay. It was way too long. It should have been edited down more. I didn't love anything about it. Not the characters, not the story. I wanted more dragons, but the amount of people that love this book and have given it 5 stars is insane. Good for them. I wish I would have loved it enough to give it 5 stars. I think I gave it 3 stars or 3.5. Not my favorite, but a contender for sure. That's definitely going to make it through to the final round. Faybound, I didn't read it. I had it on Libby, but it got so many negative reviews that it just kind of put me off. I was like, I'm not going to read it. Because I don't think anybody liked the book, to be honest. Blood of Hercules, never heard of it. Played It Prisoner series, popular, but I don't think it'll win. Jennifer L. Armentrout's on there. I don't know. I feel like that one will make it through, but I don't know if it'll win. The next one I've never heard of. A Faked in Blood. I read that one. Again, not my favorite. I feel like that one's had more mixed stuff. I don't think it'll win either. I think I gave it, again, another 3 stars. It was okay. I liked the first half, but then the second half, I was not here for that. The Spell Shop, it was apparently a cute, cozy fantasy, but I don't think that one will win either. Zodiac Academy number, I don't know. I can't tell from the picture that I have here. It's popular. I don't know if it'll win, though. I haven't read them. I own the first one, and I do intend to read them next year. I want to read the whole series. Unless I DNF it. But hopefully I don't, because I want to see what the girls are talking about. Honey Witch, I don't think that'll win. The Games Gods Play, I don't think that'll win either. Veld Kingdom, A Touch of Chaos, nope. Quicksilver, that is a contender. I very, like, that. Everybody was talking about Quicksilver. Everybody was raving about it. My book club chose it as their first book to read in October, and I freaking loved it. And a lot of the club did too. So I gave it 5 stars. That is what I voted for in this round for Quicksilver. Because honestly, like, from the ones that I've read, it's definitely the best one from the ones that I've read. I haven't read them all. I own a lot of these. I just haven't read them. Phantasma by Katie Smith. That's also really beloved. People really freaking like that. I read it and I thought it was good. I didn't love it, but I did think it was good. I think I gave it like 4 stars. I'm excited to move on to the next one because it was good, but I don't think it was better than Quicksilver. It was definitely better than When the Moon Hatched, in my opinion. So it'll for sure move on to the next round. Fate of the Sun King, that one I don't think will win, even though it's a popular series, but I don't think it'll win. A Promise of Peridot, I've never heard of. Apprentice to the Villain, popular, but I don't think it'll win. I only read Assistant to the Villain, but the humor, I just felt like it was just a bit too much for me, so I didn't go on to Apprentice to the Villain. That's not to say that I'll never read it. I'm just not in a rush to read it. And then A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. I own that. I own the Illumicrate exclusive edition, and it's absolutely stunning. And I've only read one Alison Saft book, which was A Fragile Enchantment, and I really, really liked it. So I'm excited to read this one, but I couldn't vote for it because I haven't read it. Quicksilver got my pick for that, and I'm very interested to see who's gonna win. I feel like it's between SJM, Quicksilver, and When the Moon Hatch, and Phantasma. I think so. Reader's favorite fantasy, another one of my favorite genres, another one where I did vote, and I don't think that my pick's gonna win, unfortunately, because I haven't heard anybody talk about this book, but I really, really liked it. We'll get to it when we get to it, but first up, The Tainted Cup. I want to read this. I really want to read this, but I have not. I did see Reagan from Produce Project say that she really liked it, and I trust her for my fantasy picks. Our taste doesn't really like fully align, but it is enough of an overlap that I do like to see once in a while what she's reading, and that is one that I do trust her with. So there's that. The Book of Doors, never heard of it. Never heard of the next one. Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. I read Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and it was cute. It's definitely a cozy fantasy, but I'm not really a cozy fantasy girl. I'm not dismissing it yet, though, because that's like the only cozy fantasy I've read, so who knows. But it wasn't enough for me to run to the second book, so I haven't read this one. Second row, I don't recognize any of them except for The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, which I don't think is going to win. It received pretty negative feedback. I feel like most people that I saw talking about it were talking about it negatively, unfortunately. Empire of the Damned, Jay Kristoff. Never read it. I mean, it is popular, but I don't think it'll win. An Academy for Liars. I just got this off Hold On Libby. I'm excited to read it. I've heard pretty good things about it, not a ton of talk about it, so again, I don't think this one will win, but I'm excited to read it. The Night Ends with Fire by Kei Song. This is what I voted for. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. It's described as Mulan meets the Poppy War, and I've never read the Poppy War, so I can't really attest to that, but definitely had the Mulan vibes. It wasn't exactly the same as Mulan, but it was similar. And in this, we have a morally gray character. Like, our Mulan is not all for honor and glory for the good of her family and her ancestors. She's selfish. She cares about herself. She hates her dad. There's a love triangle in here, and it is just delicious. Like, she has chemistry with both dudes. She really, really does. Which, usually love triangles, it's like, they don't always work because the girl usually doesn't have chemistry or like equal amounts of chemistry with both guys, but in this one she does. And the one of the guys is like the Shang character, and then the other one is the prince of like who they're fighting, so the bad guy, and she has chemistry with both. At this point, I don't know who she's gonna choose, and I had to go to this author's Instagram to see if there's gonna be a sequel, because again, it's not very popular, but she did put that there was a sequel coming out sometime at the end of 2025, and I will be picking it up and I will be reading it. And I hope Fairy Loot, I have the Fairy Loot exclusive edition, which is my favorite book that I own. From all my books, like all, I don't know, 300 plus books, that is my favorite. It is gorgeous, beautiful, and I hope they do the second one. And that I still have Fairy Loot at that point. I'm sure it'll make it to general sale, but I need it. Give it to me. KX song. And I voted for that one, but I know it's not gonna win because I've never heard anybody talk about it. Nobody. Not one person. Veronica Roth's new book did pretty good. A lot of people really liked it. I didn't read it, but I know that a lot of people liked it. Five Broken Blades, that had its moment, but I don't think that, you know, it'll win. TJ Klune, a popular author. I've never read any TJ Klune books, but that's a contender. I feel like a lot of people really like his books. And then I've never heard of any of The Last Row. So I don't know. I don't know who will win. Maybe Emily Wilde's, maybe. Well, I don't think The Tainted Cup would win, but that would be something. It's probably gonna be TJ Klune if we're being honest. Next up, we have readers' favorite science fiction, another good genre. Have I read any of these? No. Amazing. My favorite sci-fi of all time that I've read so far. I'm new to sci-fi though. Probably Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I really, really like that one. And then I did like the, what is it called? Red Rising trilogy. Golden Sun was my favorite. The other two were okay. I really like Golden Sun though. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. That's a YA series. I really like that one. So, you know, I'm new to sci-fi, but I'm excited to read more of it because I really do tend to like it. So, yeah, I can't really tell you much. I feel like I've only really heard people talk about the Ministry of Time, but I don't know. I feel like that was hit or miss. Either people loved it or they hated it. But I think that's like the contender. And then, of course, we have The Mercy of Gods by James S.A. Corey. An Expansory's book. That one's got potential also. I don't know anything about the rest. So we're just going to skip to the next category. Reader's favorite horror. Not a genre I read much of, but I feel like I hear more of horror and thrillers. So let's see. T.K. Fisher has a book on here. Stephen King has a book on here. Popular authors. Incidents Around the House. I feel like I've heard quite a bit about this one. People, it might have been a book of the month book or from some other book box because I feel like people have talked about this one a lot. They've liked it. Sleep Tight, that for sure was a book of the month book because I remember people like pushing it, you know, like all the people that work with book of the month were really pushing this book. I don't know who would win here. Maybe Stephen King, I'm not sure. Next up we have reader's favorite debut novel. Ooh, The Ministry of Times there. I was going to say The Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Times there. Maybe How to End a Love Story. I feel like that's what I would pick. But only because that's probably the only one that I would read from the whole list. So I'm not sure. Reader's favorite audiobook. Oh, okay. I voted here. I voted for Funny Story by Emily Henry because I did listen to the audiobook. The sun's right in my face. There's like a little piece, a little part in the blinds that is allowing the sun in and it's shining in my face. Just ignore it. Yeah, I did vote for it. I really did like the audiobook. I felt like it definitely elevated the reading experience, so I voted for that. Listen for the Lie though. I've heard people like the audiobook of that. Just for the Summer is a contender. The Women's a contender. Sally, I don't know. I feel like Funny Story has this one in the bag. I listened to First Lie Wins on audio. No. Next up, we have reader's favorite young adult fantasy, a category that I love. I love reading YA. I know a lot of people shit on YA. I don't know why. Why it's good. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's good. So, let's see. Ruthless Vows, Rebecca Ross. I read that. I didn't like it. I very much prefer Divine Rivals. I felt like it was better than Ruthless Vows. 100%. Air by Sabaa Tahir. I want to read this. I think the book is stunning. The author is amazing, but I haven't read The Ember and the Ashes Quartet, so I'm gonna read that first before going into air because I heard that you need to. Defiant by Brandon Sanderson. I wish this book won. I couldn't vote for it though because I haven't read it. I read Skyward and I haven't gone on to the rest of the series, but it was so good. I gave it 5 stars, so I hope that it makes it to the final round. It's Brandon Sanderson. Hopefully it does. Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I read this in a reading vlog. I'll try and post it up here, but I said in there, which is kind of mean. I said it could have been an email, but honestly, it could have been an email. What a pointless freaking book. I did not like that one. Where the Dark Stands Still. That is a book that I own and I really want to read. I hope that I read it before the year ends because I picked that up because of the cover. It was a cover buy, but when I was reading the synopsis, it gives me like the gothic spooky vibes in like a dark forest. I feel like I'm really gonna like that one. The Darkness Within Us, I don't think will win. Wisteria, I read that. I know a lot of people have loved it, so that's a contender. I didn't love it. I liked it. My favorite remains Foxglove from that series, but a contender for sure. Heartless Hunter, that is what I voted for. That was my pick. I really like this book. Was it the best book I've ever read? No, but I literally read it in one sitting. Like it was, I just flew through it. I listened to it on audio and it was just fun and fast, and the way that it ended makes me want to continue on to the second book, so I voted for that one. Where the Library Hides, I own the first book, but I haven't read it, so I couldn't vote for this one. Of Jade and Dragons will not win. It's had so much negative feedback, unfortunately. Tahira Mafi's newest book's on here. I haven't read this series. Dragon Fruit, it was a book of the month book, but received very negative feedback. I have it from book of the month, but I haven't read it. The Prisoner's Throne, Holly Black. This one was like mixed reviews. A lot of people were disappointed with it, but then they were like really happy that we got to see Jude and Carden again. So I don't think this one will win, but it's a contender. And then Immortal Dark, again, mixed stuff. People went crazy for this book because it was beautiful, but then the reviews started coming in and they were kind of mixed. So honestly, from here, I think it's either going to be Ruthless Vows, Reckless, Heartless Hunter, or Wisteria. I think it's going to be between those. Next up, readers' favorite young adult fiction. I have read 3 of these. I did vote in this category. So we have Heartstopper, which is always gonna be amazing. I love every single volume of Heartstopper, but it is a graphic novel and I probably will never choose a graphic novel over an actual full-fledged book. Unfortunately, Tilly Cole's new book, people really love the first one. I've never read it. I probably will never read it. Holly Jackson, I've never read any of her books, but that one did get mixed reviews, so we'll see. Maureen Johnson's new book, people really like that one. That got some good feedback. Lim Painter, Betting on You. I read this one. I didn't love it. I think I gave it like 3 stars. Wasn't my favorite, but I see why it's on there. I don't recognize any of these other ones. Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I don't think the book will win though, because as outside from the original trilogy, I feel like people haven't really liked all these other ones that are coming out. If Only I Had, I don't think will win. Nothing Like the Movies, this is what I voted for. I had an arc of this book and I love what's it called? Better Than the Movies so much. I gave it 5 stars. I love this book. So I was so excited for this one and I really liked it. I did not like it like I liked Better Than the Movies, but I did like it. Oops, I hit the mic. I did have a good time with it. I hope that this one wins because I really liked it. But yeah, that is it. I'm sure this video is like so long, but you know, I wanted to sit down and chat about all the books that people have been reading apparently in 2024. We'll see what wins. I'm not going to be like making another video of this like for the final round of voting But maybe we'll talk about the picks later on. We'll see. Yeah, let me know from the categories which were your picks if you did vote, or even if you didn't, which ones would you pick? I'm curious to see, especially like if you're watching me, then our reading taste is probably similar. And I understand that I read kind of random stuff. Like I read romance, but I also read fantasy, and I read romantasy, but then I also read sci-fi. But then, you know, I also read thrillers, and I feel like my reading taste is all over the place. But yeah, you're here because you coincide with one of those. Dang, the sun. Thank you. Thank you. But we are officially done with today's video. Like I said, let me know down below. Thanks so much for hanging out. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week with another one. Bye.